Next, from Auburn, Illinois, we see how a group of foreign buyers learn about Illinois' way of growing corn and soybeans, and see firsthand how Illinois' grain farmers attract big business from around the world. This runs about 40 minutes.
Jim Mackey, we're here at a farm just in Auburn, Illinois, just south of Springfield, where you're taking a group of international visitors. What's the overall purpose of this?
The purpose is to make business connections. All of these international visitors have been qualified that in their countries they are purchasers of grain and other feed products. We bring them here. They come at their own expense. They have money involved in this, but we bring them here and we put this tour on to show them, number one, the quantity of product we have available. This year that looks a little iffier. Number two, the quality of the product that we have available and the quality of the transaction process that they can get buying grain here in the U.S. Here in Illinois, we have a fabulous transportation infrastructure that allows us to ship these products out very well. So bringing these overseas buyers here, driving them through the state, making introductions, and letting them have business contacts that they can use in the future to organize their own business deals and make their purchases is important.
On the tour today, Jim, how many different countries are represented and what kind of financial impact do you typically see, if any, after these visits?
This tour has 22 participants from 7 different countries. This particular tour happens to be really oriented towards Asian buyers. That's just happenstance. It's not a plan. Last year we had more Latin buyers. The tour typically results in some sales even on the tour. It's interesting, some of these people will even go home with a moisture tester in their suitcase or something. But the bigger sales, the big grain buys, of course those are made after the fact and in their countries of origin. But every year we evaluate the tour based on input not only from the participants but also from our hosts that we've introduced them to along the tour. And we always get good feedback. The hosts always speak highly of the amount of business that they do based on this tour, and I think it helps a lot.
And what kind of feedback, what do you hear from those who participate on the tour? What kind of impressions do they walk away with, and maybe things that surprise them that they didn't anticipate?
They're always surprised by just the sheer quantity of product and crops and fields that we have here. And honestly, you can put somebody on a bus and after you drive them for 3 or 4 hours and they just see the same thing over and over again, that does make the impression. We have the quantity. But also I think they're very impressed by the transportation options. Grain can be purchased and shipped out of here by rail or by truck or by barge or by bulk container ship loaded at the Gulf. There's a ton of ways to transport product out of here, and that's always a big surprise to them, that they can come to the center of the Midwest in the middle of the United States and find transportation options like that.
And obviously, where a lot of us think of, obviously most of us don't work in agriculture, so when we think of jobs, as the governor would say, jobs, 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 we tend to think of any number of retail shops or manufacturing, but just to remind us all that Illinois agriculture is still the biggest industry in the state.
There's obviously a lot of people that work in agriculture and in all of agriculture's related industries. I mean, this tour isn't just about selling grain. This tour is about selling grain bins, testing equipment, GPS systems, all sorts of transportation and equipment options. So agriculture has a broad effect on the state, and what gets sold out of this tour is much broader than just grain out of the field.
We do a lot of research for Monsanto, corn and soy, chemistry and traits, okay? So the only thing we have left here to see is soy, and we have 51 varieties of soybeans to the back corner on conventional till ground. Okay, and stop me by any means and ask questions. Okay, if you have a question, please stop me and ask me. Then we also have, yes. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. We have 19 varieties of beans on no-till. So we have two different types of tillage practices on the farm. We have no-till, which is out to the west of the farm, outside. Okay, and then back in the back corner, we have 51 varieties of beans conventionally tilled. Okay. My corn program is I am 100% strip tillage. Okay, and what that means is when we are finished harvesting corn or soybeans, we'll go in there and put all our nutrients down in a strip about this wide, and that is our only tillage practice that we will have. Excuse me. That is our only tillage practice that we will have till next spring, and then we go in and plant on that strip. So we try to maintain as much residue on the ground as we possibly can, but yet not be in no-till. Okay, we do all our nutrients in a strip, and then in the spring we come back and plant right on that strip. That is our total program. Then after the crop is up and growing, and then we will come back after the crop is grown to this height, we will apply our nitrogen. Okay, it's called side dressing. Okay. Okay, and then at that point we will do our spray applications, which is usually 2 passes. We'll have 2 passes of spray application. Usually the second pass will be all Roundup, unless it's on our food grade. And then we will fly fungicide when the corn is tasseling. Okay? Okay. And then we harvest. Okay? We have no corn on corn. It's all a 50-50 rotation. We're 50% corn and 50% beans. In this area, there is quite a bit of corn on corn planted, but it's not been as successful as we would like to see it. Right now, it's more beneficial for us to plant corn following soy. Okay? We still experiment with corn on a very small basis to keep trying different things, different varieties, different applications of fertilizer, and different tillage to try to allow corn on corn to be beneficial, but on this farm, I'm struggling with it. We can't find the right mix yet. Okay? And I don't think I'm the only one that's having that problem. Okay. About the farm, we have 1,500 acres. Oh. Does he have a question? Does he have a question? Okay. What you'll see on our farm is we farm 3,000 acres. I'm going to talk in acres, which is roughly 1,500 hectares. But we have 3,000 acres, 1,500 acres, 1,500 acres of corn, 1,500 acres of beans. Okay. The beans are all seed bean production for Monsanto and for DuPont Pioneer. So all the soybeans that you see on our farm is raised for seed to be bagged and sold to other farmers, other producers. Our corn, yes, yes, absolutely.
What is the difference when you plant, okay, on yield? when you plant corn above corn, and the difference when you plant corn above soybean.
On an average, it'll be...
You want to tell them?
Okay. The question is, what is the difference in yield on corn following corn and corn following soy? Okay. The difference that we've seen in yield on this farm has been as high as 50 bushel, 52 bushel, and as low as 10 to 12 bushel. But we're averaging roughly 25 bushel the acre difference in corn following corn versus corn following soy. That's why it's not beneficial for us. There's enough difference in corn and soy that we want to continue that rotation. Okay. Did that answer his question? And I wish I could tell you why, but I can't. I have some assumptions, but you know, it's anybody's guess. Okay. My corn production, I have 300 acres of white corn, and then yellow food grade corn. Okay, so we have 300 acres, 150 of white and 150 of yellow, and it's all food grade. Okay, non-GMO. All right, non-GMO. Okay. Then the rest of my acres, the other 1,200 acres, is GMO corn. Okay. We abide by the refuge, and that way opens up a ton of questions. But refuge is something that we have to do to allow us to use technology corn. We have to plant so much non-GMO corn to be allowed to plant GMO corn. It's a restriction from the government. Okay, EPA tells us that that's what we do. Okay.
So you mean you must plant non-GMO corn, and then you can be allowed to plant GMO corn.
Right. There's a certain percentage. When we plant technology, we have to protect the insects that's out there. We don't want the insects to become resistant to the technology. Okay. I don't know if that's clear. If all we have was GM products, then the insects would become immune to it, and then it would no longer be beneficial for us to have GM products. So between the seed companies and our Environmental Protection Agency, they've determined that we need to put so much non-GMO corn so that the insects can still thrive a little bit, and so that we don't lose the rootworm, the corn borer protection that we currently have with the technology corn. Okay? Does that make sense? Do you need to elaborate on anything like that, Terry? Or so?
Well, the idea of the refuge is so that they don't develop immunity
right.
to the technology.
Right. I may not have said it exactly right, but anyway. So we have to plant so much non-GMO with GMO corn. Okay? My white corn production all goes and is cleaned and then loaded on a truck and then shipped to Chicago to the food market up there, the Mexican market, for tortillas and taco chips. Okay.
We have two from the tortilla company.
Oh, good, good. El Milagro is who we.
El Milagro.
Yeah, El Milagro. There's right there on the side. Yep.
Because we have the third biggest tortilla company in Mexico.
There you go. That's great.
Thank you.
My yellow food grade corn gets put into taco or corn chips and taco shells and etc. too. But it goes throughout the United States. The rest of my corn gets harvested, gets delivered to terminals a very short distance from here, 5 miles. And it gets loaded onto trains, and it's called unit trains. Okay, there's 440,000 bushel of corn per each unit train, and them unit trains go to Hereford, Texas, for cattle feeders. Okay, and roughly every 4th train load goes to Mexico. Okay, it gets delivered to Mexico. we will market roughly 22 to 25, 30 million bushel of grain through those 2 unit trains alone in one given year. I mean, Illinois does such a great job of exporting their products because of the infrastructure that we have with the unit trains, with our river system, and then our processors that we have. So we're very blessed. We could play a large part in feeding the world. Director Fleiter would probably agree with that, I would think. But anyway, we're very, very fortunate. And the products that is produced in Illinois are top-notch. We take quality very serious. Okay? So a little sidebar commercial for the state of Illinois there.
They talking about, Jim, they talking about irrigation, but you don't have any irrigation.
No.
Everything is by rain.
Right. Very little rain. We'll talk a little bit about, okay, go ahead.
Did you do irrigation or not?
No, no irrigation, no. We normally average, we can talk about this year a little bit and the pains that we've had this year. Normally we average around 38 to 43 inches of rainfall a year. In 2009, we had that by July 1st. Okay, that was in 2009. Now, this year, we're still 9 inches, I believe it's 6 to 9 inches below our average as of today. So we're extremely low on rainfall. If it hadn't have been for the hurricane that blew up, we would be 10 to 12 inches down because we had 5 inches in that rain event. Okay, so this year has been extremely dry. On an average, this farm will average about 210 to 212 bushel an acre. Okay, on an average, on a 5 to 6, 10-year average, 212 bushel. Okay. This year, in this area, we're probably going to be 40 to 50 bushel below that. Okay, because of the rain. And the farther south you go, we're still shelling corn 7 miles south. This farm was pretty good this year in the fact that we had 170 plus bushels the acre here. But we've been from 150 to 170 just in a stretch this way. You move south 3 to 5 miles, it drops off 20 to 30 bushel. Okay. So 3 to 5 miles south of here, we have 130 bushel corn. And tomorrow we're probably going to be shelling 50 bushel corn. And that's 10 miles south. So that's how much the rain has really been very spotty. And it's really taken its toll on the crops that we have here. Okay. So 50 bushel the acre that's a big hit. That's a big hit. So bean wise, I don't have a clue. I wish I could tell you what the beans, 6 weeks ago I would have said we were going to have 20 bushel beans, and because of the recent rains that we've had from Hurricane Isaac and from just some short showers that's coming in, we've actually had 7 inches of rain in I think the last week and a half.
Yeah, since the last week, 10 days.
Yeah. So we're starting to get the rain back. You can see the beans are starting to turn the yellow color. That means that they basically have stopped producing. They cannot produce anymore. They're just going to go ahead and mature at this point. And these beans will be ready to harvest in about 3 weeks. Okay. I would like to think our beans is going to be 40 to 55.
They look like it, Jim.
I know.
Where'd it come from?
6 weeks ago, we had no pods. Like down in the farther south, we actually had no pods on the plants. I mean, it was bad. We thought maybe 10 to 15 bushel. And of course, you don't have any pods, that's nothing. That's zero. Okay. And today, they look like they're 40 or 50 bushel beans. So I hope I'm not disappointed. So price today, if I was to sell a bushel of corn to a unit train, would be around $8 for a bushel of corn. Okay. And beans is $17.40, $17.30, $17.35, somewhere around in there for a bushel of beans today. Okay.
All of the food grade, right?
Yeah. Food grade, I mean, everything right now is even. With the food grade corn, I get a premium. Okay. So with food grade, I'll get 50 to 75 cents a bushel premium over and above the $8 that we have. Okay.
So you just increase your rate idea for selling?
Excuse me, say that one more time.
You've been raising your rate idea for selling?
No. We forward price a lot of crop. So we actually had crop sold before the price started going up. We planted early. We planted as early as we've ever planted. Normally on this farm we like to start planting April 4th to April 10th. Okay. This year we planted beans March 17th. Okay. I actually had corn planted March 17th. I took off and went to Cuba for a week just to get away from it because that was too early, because we still had a chance. We still get frost, you know, in March. We'll get a frost, so we don't like to plant too early in March. But the conditions were ideal in March to plant. So the crop went in very well. The conditions was right. With history that we had in 2009 and 2010, we didn't plant a kernel of corn in 2009, the month of April. We started May 17th planting corn. That's a month late for us. So this was an opportunity to plant in March. We're like, we're not going to wait, so we're going to go. But what happened is then it stopped raining. Okay, but when we got in early, get back to your point, we started selling crop. If we're getting in early, the conditions are right, the corn was coming up, everything was good, we were looking at $5 corn. Okay, we were actually looking at $4.75 corn. Okay, so we started selling a portion of that crop at that point. In my case, I thought I was probably 35% sold. Okay. When I got done planting corn, I wanted to be 35% sold of an average crop. Well, we didn't have an average crop. We had a below. So what was 35% is now 65 or 70%. Okay? So even though the price is high now, it's hard to capitalize on that because of the bushel that we did not produce. Okay?
So USDA report is going to be shortly coming. So comparing to last month, you're gonna raise your yield figure this month, or that is personal question?
We're leaving our yields. Okay, I mean, our yields are going to be probably around 140 to 150 bushels where I'm going to average this year, with the high average here, the low average down at the other farms. Okay, so I may not be understanding your question right.
Well, the question is that last month USDA has announced that the average yield of corn 126 or something.
Yeah.
So 1 month later,
I think the average will stay the same. That's my feeling. I think USDA will come back out, and we got a crop report coming out Wednesday. Is that correct?
Yep.
I don't see them lowering that crop production from my standpoint. If it is, it's very minute. Director, do you have a comment on that? Have you been getting a feeling on where you think the USDA report will come out?
I have my own personal opinion, but they don't share that. It's a very, very it's very confidential in terms of how they get their input, and they're very careful not to disseminate information until there's an actual announcement. But I've seen it all over the place. I have my own opinion, but they're the ones who are responsible for the statistics.
Right.
And so I'm as anxious as everybody to see what the numbers will be.
Personally, with my experience, this area here is, Roxy, she might want to use the restroom. Okay. This area here is virtually 85% completed on the harvest. I think the state average is 35% complete. Does that sound about right? Okay.
Might be a little higher now.
Okay, about 40% over the weekend. I think the yields are coming in okay.
Okay.
I've been pleasantly surprised that they haven't been worse, but they're right. I predicted that my farm would average 140 to 145 bushel the acre, okay, and I'm probably going to be at 147. So I think I think the report is probably, that's my opinion, okay. Don't be going out and buying corn or selling corn. All right? So, but I believe that it's probably, they're going to start seeing corn. It's early. There's a lot of good things going on in the market right now. The harvest is getting started. The corn's drying down. I think standability is a problem because we got planted so early that I think stock quality is going to be an issue. But I really feel like we're probably where we're at. Okay. Beans, I don't think they'll drop beans anymore. I think beans is where they're at. That's just my opinion. Okay, so.
Tim, percentage-wise, where would that bring you compared to what your harvest usually is?
We're 60 to 60, let me see, 147. Yeah, we're 60 bushel off my normal pace. Okay.
So, which is a bigger gap than I think they were saying 20 or 25%.
Right. Right. And it's getting worse. Okay. We've harvested our best crop up here. In this area right here, this has been the best harvest that we're going to have this year. The farther south. My white corn, I harvested white corn last week, and it averaged right at 160. Okay. So, but that again, that's 30 bushel off the pace. Okay. So.
You know, so on the way coming here, we saw the corn color, it's dark brown. So I thought, wow, the production is almost a failure. So I didn't expect that production.
Yes.
But surprisingly,
yes.
You said that you had over 145. It's amazing.
That's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
I would say that's going to be in the top, from what I've gathered.
For the time being, we have been, as a buyer, we have been depending on the USDA's announcement. But after period, every month they have changed their numbers.
Yes.
So
Quite different. Quite different.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world. We're the same way. I mean, you know, we don't have enough time. You probably put a lot, your country probably puts a lot more stock into that report, but it's not a given science, okay? It's an average. So you have to look at the big picture, and you have to look at how the report is formed, and at the end of the day, or end of the year, they're probably not too far off, okay? But it's very, very frustrating, and quite honestly, I think the government struggles with it on how the USDA, I think that they would like to be more accurate, because the more accurate, let's face it, the report that comes out on Wednesday is going to affect me, and it's going to affect you.
Yep.
Okay? Because we are, you know, you are our buyers. 60% of our product, I don't know what it is in the state of Illinois, I ought to know that, but we export a great deal of grain. So that report reflects heavily on your decision as well as my decision. So it gets very cumbersome from time to time, and it's very frustrating sometimes the reports, because you got to remember we're just in this area, and just like I said earlier, this area here produced pretty good corn. But you don't, if you was to drive south,
yep.
Okay, it went from 140 average to 30 to 50 bushel average. Okay, I mean, and they produced 180 to 200 bushel corn as well. It's just they got really hurt. So There are some key areas in the state that was blessed with good crop, but very few. I mean, if there's a shining star in all this, okay, the drought hit everywhere. Okay, now that doesn't make a lot of sense, I'm sure, but the drought hit everywhere. So what that did was put more pressure on the market. So now we didn't produce as much, but our price was higher. If we would have had 200 bushel corn all over the state of Illinois, because we started out and the potential could have been 200 bushel. Our average probably could have been 165 to 170 instead of what it's at 126 now. Okay, there's 40 bushel difference. If it would have been that 169, we would have had $4.50 corn. Okay, now I'm very lucky. Okay, because we have 160 to 170 bushel corn at $8. That's better than 200 bushel corn at $4. Okay? Not good for you, okay? Because the price is higher. Yes. But remember, I did not get $8 for all our corn. Okay? So it's still going to average out okay. You know what I mean? We always, as farmers, would always rather harvest a bumper crop. We want an abundance of corn, you know. Farmers like to go out there and fill their machines up. Okay? So what I kind of think this USDA report is going to be neutral. I really do. I can't see a lot going on now. Harvest is just getting started. You're going to see harvest pressure. So that's all that stuff into play. I just don't see.
What was Pro Farm tested last week? I thought they'd come out. Pro Farmer did their corn belt.
Oh, yeah.
I think they come out with 120 bushel versus USDA at 123.
Yeah.
So the report that's going to be here on Wednesday
That's true.
They think it might be a little bit lower, a little bullish.
Yeah.
But
what happens?
It's just a report.
Yeah. What happens with the report? Okay, a sidebar. What happens with the report is the report comes out low, our usage comes out lower. Okay, so it just offsets. It's like our demand went down.
Say currently the grain market has been dominated by not by actual buy and sellers, dominated by the kind of funds.
Speculators. Yeah. You guys are going to be going to the Chicago Board of Trade? Is that correct?
Yep.
Let them have it.
We have analyzed the entire trading volume in the stock market. More than 95% has been done by, say speculators.
Right.
So speculators have the advantage over that data announced by USDA. So as a buyer and seller, so we have highly depend on that USDA's report. But we actually know how USDA report is made. What kind of say main factors give that?
Right. I thoroughly agree. When they went to expanded trading hours, that's not good for me. Okay. Nobody's been able to convince me that the trading crop 22 hours or 20 hours out of a 24-hour period is healthy. It just pleases the speculators more. Okay. At one time when the market first started, speculators was very good for us. Okay. Speculators, that was a good thing. But all this is on tape. I'm going to be shot by tomorrow, probably. Okay. But I just don't feel like the market is out of touch now. Okay. The market is just really out of touch. And it's not done, in my opinion, for the right reasons anymore. A case in point. Okay. This is very critical. And this is my plea why this thing needs to be changed around. When I deliver my grain to the local elevator, it used to be at 1:30 in the afternoon, the market would close. Okay? You would sell your grain, and they call spot. you would spot your grain. So let's say the market closed even $8. Okay, so I haul grain in all day long, and once it got, and I told him I'm just spotting it. I didn't have it sold. I just want to spot my grain. Okay, that means I'm going to take the price when the market closes and the elevator figures in its cost. Okay, that's what I'm going to get. Now, with the expanded limits, they can change very radically, and the expanded hours, I'm not going to get that price that day. I got to wait another 24 hours. You know, now it could work to my favor, it could work against me, but I don't know where I'm at. Okay, I have several landowners that I farm for that believes in selling grain right out of the field. They don't forward price. They don't contract anything. Whatever they harvest, they sell. Now you have to wait another 24 hours to even know what you've got, and the market could change. Okay.
It hasn't been mature.
These are ready. These are mature.
These are mature?
Yep. Those are not quite mature yet. And see the yellow ones out there? They're not. These aren't quite mature yet. Too many leaves and stuff. They're not quite mature. They're
not mature?
Not yet. No. They're probably a week away. Okay.
还有一周. How can I tell whether it's mature or not?
Well, when you open up the pod, first if it opens up real good, okay, you see how that bean is?
Yes.
Okay. Well, when you bite the bean, it should be real hard.
Hard?
It's not.
Oh.
It's soft.
Oh,
so
it's hard. Oh.
Yeah, it's real soft. Okay. And see down here? See down here? That plant's still green. Okay. So number one, they're still green beans. So them are not mature yet. They're supposed to look like that.
Oh yes.
Until they turn yellow.
And they'll turn like this. Okay.
And this is mature.
Well, that's close. That's closer to maturity. Yes.
I'm gonna take a picture of it.
Hang on just a second. Let me get it out for you. Okay.
你吃过毛豆吗？
有啊.
Now see, that's not quite mature yet. They're still kind of oval. They're not round. Okay.
Is this same kind of beans that Japanese eat, like a snack?
Not tofu. These are not tofu. No. Now see, that's green bean. That's not ready. That bean will look like this bean eventually.
Oh, okay.
As it dries down.
Okay.
See, they're maturing.
Shrink in size?
Yes, they'll shrink in size.
但他不知道是这个毛豆。
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.